Thank you, Chairwoman Norton, and thank you all for being here today. As a representative for a largely rural district, I know firsthand how important highway and road construction can be, and in particular for connecting our constituents to essential needs and goods and services, along with bringing economic development to communities who desperately need it. As a member of this committee for the past year, I've learned so much about how many of our states and our districts are struggling to meet their infrastructure demands. I know in my district of West Virginia, which is very rural and very mountainous, that our bridges can remain incomplete, road work seems to be never ending, and our economy suffers from the consequences. The Highway Trust Fund remains woefully underfunded, and it's essential for this committee to find a reasonable solution to our nation's infrastructure needs. Mr. French and Mr., is it Reif or Reef? Mr. Reef, what problems do the U.S. Forest Service and the Department of Interior have with maintaining rural access roads? And how can Congress ensure that these rural areas continue to be serviced with quality roads?
Thank you very much for the question. It's a huge challenge for us. I mean, the primary first piece is the overall funding that's available. In West Virginia, on the Monongahela National Forest, I think in your district, there's at least 17 million in deferred maintenance that we're working on right now. We don't even come close to being able to have the resources to hit all those. So what we end up doing is stopgap measures. I mentioned in my testimony about a bridge in Pennsylvania that services a community that we can't get fire trucks across right now to protect those communities. We've had to put in a stopgap temporary fix just to allow that to happen. And that's the sort of triage that we find ourselves doing at any time. I think that we think there could be a more rational approach to how the FAST Act is allocated. I think that we would be opening to discussing other ways that we could look at funding some of these critical needs. And I think that we very much stand up to say we should be more efficient and effective in how we use those dollars and show you that and accountable. I think all those three things are very important in order to resolve this issue.
Thank you.
I will echo my colleagues' comments that we are drastically underfunded with trying to keep up with all of the deferred maintenance in our portfolio. I referenced in my testimony a study by the National Academy of Sciences that indicates that 2 to 4% of an asset value should be contributed to maintenance for every year annually for maintenance, and we're able to contribute about 0.5% of our budgets towards maintenance of our assets. So we are just having a hard time keeping up. We are looking for efficiencies. When under our transportation programs, we are trying to spend more of our time and effort and funding on low-cost efforts to preserve what good things we have in good condition, so that we can slowly build the network back up over time by keeping what we have in good condition and then slowly addressing some of the bigger challenges, the bigger dollar reconstruction projects as we can, and then again keep a little bit of money on them to keep them in excellent condition. So we are attempting to drive that process, but it's really hard boulder to get out from under with just the roads are naturally just deteriorating faster than we can address them.
It is never ending. I have a farm, and the road to my farm goes by creek and up and down it, and it's always in need of repair, and they repair it, and then they repair the repair, and then it's hard. Mr. French, what steps is the U.S. Forest Service taking to speed up regulatory hurdles, and are there any regulatory burdens mandated by Congress that impair the service's ability to efficiently maintain their infrastructure?
Okay, thank you. As I spoke before, one, we've put together a comprehensive capital improvement strategy, a long-term transportation strategy, and a deferred maintenance strategy, because we don't want to just spread the resources. We want to hit the right things in the right places. Secondly, we're looking at the processes we use to make sure that work happens on the ground, whether it's through contracting, whether it's through design and looking at more effective design, or through our environmental reviews, trying to make sure that we're doing that in expedient ways. It's also about project management, having the right resources in the right places to get the work done and not just sort of go on forever. That's what we're doing on our end. In terms of Congress, I think many of the ideas that have been talked about here, looking at the needs of the agencies and then looking at the way this program essentially feeds its money through federal highways, and then the amounts, is something that is worth taking a look at. It can create some delays, and I would assert that the amounts are maybe not commensurate with the needs.
How does the Forest Service coordinate between the local, state, and federal levels, and what can be done to improve those lines of
The
communication?
gentlewoman's time has expired.
Thank